I attended RESA this past Friday with Dr. Fincher, and she went over some updates for Georgia Milestones, and I wanted to get these out to you as soon as possible. I'm going to send you this PowerPoint, but I wanted to go ahead and do the webcast just so I could give you an overview. The first thing she talked about was the state board meeting, which took place last week. She went over some of the things that they did, but I want to highlight three things of importance for us. The first one is the Georgia High School Writing Test. This is the last year that it will be administered. Next year it will be a legacy program. That means it will be in retest mode only. So this year's juniors will take the writing test and it will count towards graduation for them, but this is the last class that will occur for. The second thing she talked about were promotion requirements for students in grades 3, 5, and 8. As you know, in years past, those students had to pass the reading and math portions of the CRCT in order to be promoted. This year, that is going to be waived, so that means that students will not have to pass the EOG in grades 3, 5, and 8 in order to be promoted. So that also means that we're not going to have a retest, and we won't have to have a remediation period. The reason why they requested this waiver is because they're not anticipating scores to come back until fall of 15. And the third thing of importance is the 20% requirement for the EOC as a calculation for a student's final grade. That's going to be waived this year. So students taking the EOC, their score will not be reflected in their final grade. And again, that's because of the anticipated delay. So the final thing to sum that up is the Georgia High School Writing Test is going to be no longer after this year's juniors take it as a requirement for graduation. This year only, promotion in grades 3, 5, and 8 is not going to be based on whether or not they pass the EOG, and the 20% requirement for final grade calculation is not going to be in place for the EOC, and that's for this year only, and it only affects students. These scores are still going to be calculated into our CCRPI, and it will still be there for accountability with the student growth model. All right, some unique features about the milestone. First of all, the transition to online, there's a 30% requirement for us to have online testing of our district. The high school is going to be fine because there's been 100% testing online for the EOCT in the past. The middle school and the elementary school, we spoke with the principals last week, and they decided that one grade level at each school is going to completely test online. There's not going to be any mix and matching. Dr. Fincher said that if you start testing online, you're going to finish the testing online. So a student can't do English language arts online and then do math with paper and pencil. Of course, though, there will still be paper and pencil versions for those students with accommodations. The next feature about the milestones is the blend of criterion reference and norm reference questions. You're going to have both on the milestones. The criterion reference are going to be the ones that the students are going to receive their performance level on. In the past, we've had 3 performance levels, and that was does not meet, meets, and exceeds. Now we're going to have 4 performance levels, and Dr. Fincher said that they don't have a name for them yet, but she described them as the first level would be for those students that are really struggling, they really lack knowledge. The second performance level will be partial proficiency. It will be for the students that have the basic concepts. They just need a little bit more remediation. And then the third level will be proficient, and then the fourth level would be exemplary. In addition to the criterion reference questions, there are going to be some norm reference questions. They're going to be on the test, and they are going to be on the test just to show how our students compare to peers nationally. And she told us that some of the norm reference questions are not going to align to Georgia's content standards, but they are not going to contribute to the overall proficiency designation. She went a little deeper into the norm reference test items. She said that each content area, course area, is going to have 20 norm reference items on there. And they are going to be on there to give us a comparison of how our students do with students across the nation. She said out of the 20 approximately 10 of those items are going to have been reviewed by Georgia educators for alignment to the grade level and course content standards. I believe that happened last week. They went through and they said, yes, this aligns. No, this does not. She said, only those norm reference test items that were judged to be aligned will contribute to the overall proficiency designation for students, which is one of those 4 levels, unnamed levels, that I spoke about earlier. She said the remaining 10 or so, although they may not align to the content standards, they are not going to contribute to that overall proficiency designation. One thing that she did mention that's not in the PowerPoint, and I don't know if this is official or not, but she said that the 20 items would probably be at the end of the test. I'm just going to throw that in there because she said it, but again, I don't know if that's official or not. She also went into the item types, which is something that I know we already are aware of. There's going to be selected response, which is multiple choice, and it's going to be in all content areas. Some of those multiple choice items are going to be evidence-based in response to some text in the English Language Arts section. They're going to be constructed response in English and math, and there's also going to be extended response in English and math. Some of the parameters, and this was news to me. The milestones, which I'm going to speak specifically now about the end of grade test, they are going to be over 5 days. We were originally thinking that they were going to be 4 because they had said it was going to be English Language Arts, Math, Science, and Social Studies. When I went Friday, they said that English Language Arts is now going to be 3 sections, and Part 1 and 2 is going to be tested on day 1, and Part 3, which is going to be the writing section, is going to be tested on day 2. Mathematics, which will have 2 sections, will be on day 3. Science, which will be 2 sections, will be tested on day 4. And Social Studies, which will also have 2 sections, will be tested on day 5. She said that each of these sections will be approximately 70 minutes. Okay, let's talk specifically about English Language Arts. There are going to be a total of 60 items taken by the students. There will be 44 criterion reference test questions, and there are going to be 20 norm reference. 10 of those are going to contribute to the criterion referenced score, which is going to be that score that has one of those 4 unnamed levels. All right, so the breakdown with it, there are going to be 40 multiple choice. There are going to be 2 constructed response. There'll be 2 points each. And then there's going to be 1 constructed response that's going to be worth 4 points by itself. The extended response, which is going to be worth 7 points, is going to be that Part 3 of the English Language Arts test, but it's going to be tested on a day by itself. So it will be tested on day 2. And I'm going to speak a little bit more in a second about it, but one thing of interest that she said is that there is going to be no more extemporaneous responses, which is different from what we've seen on the writing test in the past. In the past, they've been given a prompt, and they had to use their own ideas to generate the information to put into the writing. Now the writing is going to be connected back to text. She said that our students are going to have to synthesize, and they're going to have to cite, and she said those words over and over as she was going through this. Okay, I'm speaking specifically now about writing, and I'm still talking about the English Language Arts test. She said that within parts 1 and 2, all students are going to encounter a constructed response item that's going to allow for narrative prose in response to text. She said that our students do really well with narrative, so they wanted to give our students that opportunity. She said within the writing section, which is going to be that part 3, students are going to read a pair of passages, and they're going to complete a series of warm-up activities that are going to get them ready for that writing prompt. There are going to be 3 multiple choice items asking them about features of the passage. passages, there's going to be a constructed response that's going to require them to link the two passages, and then you're going to have that final writing prompt where students must cite their evidence to support their claims and their conclusions. So up here, this is going to be within part 1 and 2. And then this is going to be, the second bullet is going to be for part 3, which is going to be the writing day. She said over and over to stress the fact that our students are going to now have to synthesize text, and they're going to have to cite evidence from these passages. She said that there's going to be 2 on the writing, and she gave the example of there being maybe an article about the Declaration of Independence, and there being the second text, which would be the Declaration of Independence. She said that in the past, and she gave this warning down here, that students have simply just rewrote some of the things that were in the passage, and then they said, I agree with that. And she wants to warn us that students are not going to receive favorable scores if they just, I think she used the word pirate the text. Back to the writing prompts, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping around. The writing prompts, which are going to be that day 3, that part 3, which is right here, they're either going to be informative or either argumentative, and it's just going to depend on the grade level of the students. She did say that there will be partial credit for the constructed response and the extended response. She also said that the state will release a rubric for the Part 3 writing component. That's going to come shortly. The smaller rubrics for the constructed response, they're not going to be released because they are content specific. But one thing that she said over and over, and she implored us, is for us to please start working on open-ended items in our assessments in all content areas, and for us to have students start citing text. That's going to be huge in terms of these assessments. Okay, the math is going to have a total of 73 items, 53 of which are going to be criterion reference, and then there's going to be 20 norm reference. The breakdown is going to be 50 multiple choice, 2 constructed response, and then 1 bigger constructed response. So as you can see, math is also going to have writing, or is going to have writing in the assessment. Science, there will be a total of 75 items. 55 of those are going to be criterion reference, 20 are going to be norm referenced, and it's all going to be multiple choice. Social studies is also going to all be multiple choice, 75 overall, 55 criterion reference, 20 norm reference. But one thing that she did tell us, that even though there are not adopted standards for science and social studies right now, writing is coming, and it's coming soon, and that we need to go ahead and start working on it within these contents as well. It's not going to be just math and English language arts in the future. It's going to extend into science and social studies. So we just need to go on and get prepared for it. Okay, the rubrics, and I'm going to go through this quick because I'm running out of time. The rubrics are going to be released for the extended response, which is part 3 of writing, but they're not for the constructed response. She said that if you wanted an idea about the rubrics, go to OAS. She said they've been there for a year. That's where you need to start looking to get some ideas about what you may encounter with the constructed response. All right, resources. She said that all of these resources that are listed on this slide are available right now. One thing that I want you to look at is the eliciting evidence of student learning module. This is actually on the DOE's webpage, and I'll send you the link in my email, but it's down here. She said what these are PowerPoints with people speaking over them, walking you through constructed response items at elementary, middle, and high. So I'll send you that link as well. And then finally, some of the resources that are going to come really soon are going to be the assessment guides, which are going to replace the content descriptors, study guides, the accommodation guidelines, some more informational videos, and then there will be an online practice center that students can go online and practice so that they'll be used to the platform for those grade levels that are going to test online, and that'll be available in October of 2014. So I hope this was beneficial, and if you have any questions, please be sure to ask us on